Hey everybody, and welcome to the Windows 8 Jumpstart for IT Professionals. My name's Joey Snow, at Joey Snow on the Twitters.
And I am Stephen Rose, and I'm at Stephen L. Rose on the Twitters. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Very, very excited to get here today and start talking about Windows 8. We're going to go through a lot of content. We got about 6 hours worth of content to cover. So we're going to dive in depth. We're gearing this towards IT pros, everything you need to know really about understanding Windows 8, managing it, deploying it, supporting it, all the key features, virtualization. I'm very, very excited for the content that we're going to cover
absolutely.
today.
Lots of demos, lots of good technical geek stuff. But we have something that we have to get out of the way
we should get
first.
this out of the way. So for those of you that are Bear fans, you are welcome to this.
Same with the Texans fans, of course. The production guys over there yelling, "Go Bears!" Thanks, guys.
Bears.
Hey, no, there. Now we also have something in common too.
Yes.
Our teams were both beaten by the Packers.
There you go.
All right.
Absolutely.
Enough football talk.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Move
about
on.
Windows 8.
Let's. So here, why don't we do this? We'll jump to our slides. So Joey, I'll tell you about Joey, and then Joey can tell you about me. Joey is a senior technical evangelist. Joey, you and I did the Windows 7 launches together.
Absolutely.
So it's great to be back for Windows 8. You were an IT pro for, what, 12 years?
About 12 years, yep.
12 years, so that's great. And your role now as technical evangelist, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yep, so as senior technical evangelist, my responsibilities, my areas of responsibilities now are Windows, obviously, and also Windows Azure. So I work very, very closely with our product groups to get feedback from our customers into the products. Also go out, talk to all of my IT professionals out there and get them up to speed on all the things that they need to do.
Sounds good.
And you're Stephen Rose.
I am.
And you have a slide even.
I
Look,
am. We have a slide.
the Worldwide IT Pro Community Manager.
And senior product manager.
And
so,
wow, look at you.
Four years now here at Microsoft, and my role is I own IT Pro messaging. So really out in front is our Springboard series on TechNet, our TechNet pages, which we'll talk about in a few moments, where all of the content for Windows 7, Windows 8 lives, our Springboard series Insider newsletter, the technical forums, Windows Team blog, we're there. We have our Springboard tours. We have all the live events that we do, so which you and I have done many of those together.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what are we doing today?
Well, before we do that, we want to talk about two quick things. We want to talk about, for those of you watching this live, that's awesome, but for those of you who are joining us on Springboard, thanks for coming out to Springboard. These videos that you're looking at, you're surrounded with a ton of really great content. One of the first things we want to encourage you to do is to check out and download the Windows 8 evaluation skill.
Absolutely.
You want to play with what we're doing today. The great thing is that version is 90 days. You can build Windows to-go sticks. You can pretty much redo everything that we're doing here today. So you're going to find it here on the Springboard page. If you're watching live, Microsoft.com/Springboard. We'll bring this up, this resource guide here for a second. This is going to be live on our site. By the time these videos go live, you'll find this. We encourage you to check this out. This will really guide you towards the key content that's going to support everything that we're talking about today.
And a lot of it is very, very, very good IT pro-ish stuff, right? These are the things that you guys at home, if you're IT administrators and you're starting to look at, evaluate, try to make decisions around, are going to need to be doing everything from that whole, hey, what is this about? Get ready, get planned, get that sucker deployed, and then manage it moving forward.
Absolutely. And if you're more of a book person, MS Press has got some great books. I want to thank the folks at O'Reilly, which is now we're now partners with. Here's two books that we have: the Windows Step-by-Step Guide for Windows 8. We have the Windows 8 Pocket Administrator Guide. There we go, so everybody can see it. I really like this one. This is a great book. This one's from William R. Stanek. I know also Paul Thurrott has a book coming out. Ed Bott's got some stuff. Jerry Honeycutt. So a lot of really, really good content that's out now, and you're going to find a lot more of it coming out in the near future. So for those of you who are more book people, it's out there. Go to Amazon. Go to the O'Reilly site. Let's go through it. So I think that's our good preliminaries on what the next step is. So let's start talking about Windows 8.
Let's talk about the Windows.
Windows 8 is Windows reimagined. Users now have a broad amount of devices, and I think what's interesting is we've seen a lot of surveys that said the average IT pro is now managing 3 devices per user, that they're using a desktop, they're often using a laptop, and a tablet device, smartphones that add as well. And what that's really done is the way that we work now is dramatically different than it was when Windows 7 came out 3 years ago, and certainly very, very different than when XP did. We have far more of a work-life blur. we're much more of a digital generation. Going out and wikiing it or looking for that information is absolutely how we work. And people are more technically savvy. Now that they're using all these various devices, phones, tablets, etc., they're more comfortable with it. Making that part of their workday is absolutely part of it. We're also a lot more mobile. Wireless is available everywhere. You're in an airport, you're in a Starbucks, you're in a cafe, no matter where it is that you're working, there's lots of opportunities to be able to get in, get to your data, and be able to work with that. And we're a lot more fast-paced. The turnaround for emails, the turnaround for sharing information with people has really dramatically changed in the last few years. So in building Windows 8, the real goal was to build an enterprise-grade solution with the features that enterprises wanted, but also to have devices and experiences that users love. And that's really sort of at the core of what we're talking about. And that's where we provide unique value. I think you and I were having that conversation.
Yeah,
about that.
you know, here's a key thing. There's a ton of misconception out there, right? That, hey, it's only for a tablet. It's
Right.
only for, you know, it doesn't have anything for me as an IT administrator.
Right.
And that's really kind of the goal of what we're doing here today, is to kind of show you that in-depth stuff. And it's like, look, the demands on IT and people, they want to bring in their various devices. They
Right.
want the CEOs, CIOs, all those guys up on the top floor there in the big conference rooms, they want the cool devices too.
Absolutely.
Right? And so the whole idea around this is to provide all of that enterprise-grade quality that we're used to seeing, the stuff that we saw in Windows 7, and bring it to all of the different form factors and all the different
Absolutely.
devices.
I think Windows 8 offers a lot, whether you are on a touch device or not on a touch device. But I think one of the most exciting things I think that we offer is just the variety. We have so many manufacturers making so many devices and so many form factors. Whether you want a tablet, you want a convertible, you want a laptop with touch, you want a 17, a 14, a big screen. That's really one of the great things, is you can pick the form factor that best fits the way that you want to work. And that's one of the really exciting things about this. And straight out of the box, Windows 8, whether you're working with the Pro SKU, the Enterprise, and those devices built for it, the software that you're currently using with Windows 7 is going to work on those devices right out of the box.
That's absolutely key. Absolutely key. So you're not having to deal with a lot of that worrying about what's going to run.
Absolutely. So if we take a look at our slide, really what's important is we understand that we have a no-compromise business tablet and really a business device, that there are lots of possibilities in mobile productivity, that we have this great new enhanced end-to-end security and really solid management and virtualization tools, and we'll talk more about those as we dive in a little bit further. So the three things, I mean, if you have to pick three words to best describe Windows 8, is that it is fast, it's fluid, and it's really beautiful. It really is a joy to take a look at. And the great thing is, as soon as you bring up your Windows 8 desktop, it immediately gives you so much information, whether you're looking at your Windows start screen or you're looking at your desktop. All of that information's there. It's ready for you to go, and it's giving you a lot of information right from the initial login.
Pretty yet productive.
Yeah, exactly. So, touch. Absolutely long battery life. The key things we took a look at for Windows 8 was a good touch and non-touch experience. But long battery life is really great. I know on my Asus ZenBook, which was built for Windows 7, I was getting about 4 to 4.5 hours of battery life. Since I've moved to Windows 8, I'm now getting closer to 6.5 hours. And there's a lot of reasons for that. When designing Windows 8, some of the key features were that when an app is in the background, and we'll talk later about signing apps, but the reason for that is after a certain period of time, it goes in the background, it reduces its resources, it shuts down. That's the great thing, is it's going to make sure that everything the operating system does, make sure you're not running things you don't want to, and that battery life is really, really there for you. These devices are going to be thinner and lighter and faster, leveraging some of the newest modern security. Really great sensors that are going to offer features and abilities through apps and non-apps you're going to be able to do. And as we said earlier, some really, really great form factors.
I think I want one of each.
There you go. All right. And here's an example of some of those form factors. You can see here in the slide, here's a wide variety of the different types of devices that start becoming available October 26th and beyond. And I'm excited to see so much of these new things that are going to be coming out, because they're portable, they're optimized for the enterprise. They're really meant, no matter what kind of task you want to do, you're going to find the right PC for it, where it's rather ruggedized or specialized, etc. So let's jump into the editions of Windows 8. There are really 4 editions of Windows 8. Can you name all 4?
So we can go with we've got the standard version or Windows 8,
Windows
right, which
8.
is going to be consumer, what I buy when I
Yep.
go buy it off the shelf. We have Windows 8 Professional.
Which now includes BitLocker, something we did not
BitLocker.
have in Windows 7 Pro, which a lot of people said, why is there no BitLocker, BitLocker to go? We have BitLocker, BitLocker to go, and Media Center as part of the Windows Pro SKU.
We've got Enterprise,
Enterprise with Windows to go, my favorite feature.
which is then we've got a lot of stuff that we'll be talking about
We'll dig into
Enterprise. And then the last one, which is of course there's a lot of confusion around. We'll probably spend a little bit of time talking about it, which is Windows RT devices.
Yes.
Now, obviously, just the other day, all the big news around Surface,
Surface
which
launch,
runs
yep.
Windows RT. There's a number of other devices from a bunch of our other manufacturers around Windows RT.
Yeah.
So we kind of highlighted, so with Windows 8, kind of that's the consumer home model. Windows 8 Pro, you've got BitLocker.
Right.
You extend to Enterprise, we've got a bunch of features. And we're going to, throughout the entire day that we've got going here
Yeah, we'll
today,
cover
we're
a
going to
lot of
cover
it.
all of these things that are in Enterprise. Let's talk a little bit more about Windows RT. Just so that folks at home, they get really kind of confused.
Yeah, I think that there are three key things to understand about RT. Number one, you cannot deploy Windows RT. It's already built into a device. Number two, Windows RT is built to work on all the Windows 8 apps in the Windows Store. And that's great. So you'll be able to download those and use those. There is a version of Office that is in there without Outlook, but that's in there. But you're not going to be able to install and run your own software that you run on Windows 7 or on a Windows 8 Pro or Enterprise SKU-based machine. So that's really the difference. It's meant for those folks that go, I want email. I need to do some simple work. Joey's chair's having some issues.
I'm sliding down.
Sliding.
But all the things that
Yeah.
are in the Windows Store. I can play Cut the
Absolutely.
Rope, right?
You can play Cut the Rope.
Okay,
but
good.
the thing is, you can answer your email. You can work on a PowerPoint. You can use the great new Surface devices with the keyboard and mouse or any of our partner devices. You can still get a lot of work done. But as soon as you start saying, I need these very specific applications that are not built for Windows 8 to run on my machine, then you're looking at running what we call a Pro device, which is going to be any one of our Intel-based devices. And you'll be able to do that, deploy it, manage it, and do it the same way. And that's really going to be the difference between the two. RT we see more as a consumer play. It does support encryption, but not BitLocker managed encryption. So it fills in a great gap for us.
Yeah, and here's the cool thing. You've got access to remote desktop.
Absolutely. And with remote desktop, you're going to be able to get into your main desktop, do work, and work with all that stuff. And that's built in right there. And as long as you have licensing for it, you're good to go.
Yep.
So there's a lot of great advantages in doing that, but RT certainly has its place. I think it's a great device, and it's going to be a good one for consumers. I'm very excited about getting like a Surface Pro and then really be able to do everything I do, direct access, BitLocker, and all those things that my enterprise requires me to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right, so those are the different versions. So hopefully we've clarified all of those concerns with folks.
Yep. Let's talk about some great tips and tricks on that I use in running Windows 8 that you use. So I think this is a good time to start kind of jumping into the UI and what we do. But let's cover today's session. So Joey, why don't you walk us
real
through
quick.
today's
So
sessions?
we've got just 6 hours worth of stuff that we're going to cover. Just get through this first little bit with us here.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to show some tips and tricks. I've been using this product for a number of months, as of you. I'm sure we both have some great things to share.
Yep.
We're going to get into deployment.
One of my
and
favorite
all
topics.
those deployment tools and things that we use. We're going to start talking about access to Windows, which is kind of that whole embracing that bring your own device scenario, right? Being able to access your stuff anywhere on any device. We'll get there. Productivity, right? So we're going to talk about things like VDI and remote desktop. We're going to talk about applications, Windows 8 apps. We're going to talk about the store. We're going to talk about how you manage those applications, right? And how you control access to them. I mean, there's a lot of companies that I talk to all the time. They're like, hey, look, I don't need the folks at my company playing Cut the Rope all day long.
Exactly.
And how do we manage
and then how we
that?
can turn those off through things like App Locker and group policies, how we can reduce that. People said, well, I don't want them seeing their Facebook stuff. That's fine. We can block that, and there are ways to do it, and we'll certainly talk about that.
And then we'll also talk about the MDOT tools. So some user environment virtualization, the AppV platform. So we're going to get into some of those tools as well. We have just a ton of great IT Pro technical content to go from, and demos,
Lots of demos.
and demos. Do you want to? Should we do some tips and tricks real quick?
Yeah,
Get out of the
absolutely.
slides
I
and just
think
kind of.
I think we should absolutely jump into that. So let's do this. So hang on, let me get my mouse working here, and I need to minimize some stuff here. All right, so let's minimize out these slides and let's go to my desktop. So if we could go ahead and switch over.
Hit your desktop.
What am I hitting?
You're on your desktop. There you
I'm
go.
on the desktop.
You're on
There
the
we go.
desktop. You're on
Good.
your-
So we're at the Windows desktop.
Oh.
Oh, duplicate the
Duplicate.
desktop. All
You
right,
did
so let's
not
do
Windows
that. So I will go out to my Windows C shortcut. I'm going to do Devices. I'm going to say Second Screen, and I'm going to duplicate. And we should see that coming up. There we go.
Yay!
Nice.
Hey.
So I'm going to start with keyboard and mouse. I know most of you are going, well, touch and touch, but here's what's great. Let's start with some keyboard and mouse shortcuts. So here's my Windows desktop. I can very easily, by taking my mouse, by scrolling down, I can scroll left and right pretty easily. I can easily see if I have any other apps open by going up to the top left-hand corner. I can see what's open. So for example, if I were to open my Bing app and go up to the top left-hand corner, I can easily go back to my desktop PowerPoint that I had and back to my Bing app. And I can always go back to my Smart Screen by going back down to the bottom left-hand corner or by simply just hitting my Windows key on my keyboard. So one of the first things that I love showing people, and one of the first things that I figured out, was how to make groups. Because I find this is good, but this is a lot of icons in one place. So how do I organize this a little bit better? Well, for example, I have this great periodic table app that I don't really use very often, but it makes people think that I need to. And what I'm going to do is I'm taking these apps and I'm simply just moving them over until I get this gray bar. And every time I move apps over to this gray bar, it allows me to group them together. So I'm going to put all my news apps together. And I'm going to make that like news and information. And I'm going to do one here for social media. So I'm going to put TweetDeck and TweetPro. And I'm going to put these entertainment apps together. So things like games and stuff like that. And I'll even put my weather here over in news and information. So cool. So now I've got this kind of a little bit better organized. My people should go over here. All right, great. So now I've got these groups, but let's make that even easier to understand. So I'm going to go to the bottom right-hand corner and click this little minus sign. And I'm going to go up here. I'm going to right-click this group, and I'm going to call this entertainment. And I'm going to right-click this group, and I'm going to call this news and info. And I'm going to do this group, and I'm going to call this my faves. And then, of course, I've got Office over here, so I'm going to right-click that one. And I'm going to call this Office. You know what? Office I use a lot more often, so I'm going to drag that here. And this one is, whoops, went one too far. So let's go back, minimize, right-click, name group, and I'm going to call that one Social. Simply just click to bring that all back up. And now I have this really nicely organized. There's my Office, there's my social, my entertainment, my news and info, my faves. And I've made this now a lot easier for me to, as I add apps, as I do that, to create these groupings of applications to bring that together. So that's really the first one. Bottom right-hand corner to minimize, or if you're on a touch device, pinch and zoom. And instead of right-clicking, we can simply pull down. Now, once I'm in an app, let's say like this weather app, I can right-click to bring up my options, places, home, world weather, etc. So I can go to places. And I was just in Dubai, and I'm getting ready to go to Orlando. So I'm going to pick the Orlando weather here. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to need this on my start screen, so I would like to pin this. And I'm simply just right-clicking to bring up these option bars. I would also, if I was on a touch device, simply just drag from the top and pull down. So I'm going to pin, great. I'm going to call this Orlando. I'm going to do pin to start. I'm going to go back to my start. I'm going to pull this over here, and I'm going to put that right there. Now, you know what? That's a pretty big icon. I really don't need it that big. So I'm going to right-click, choose smaller, and I think what I'm also going to do is pull over my Redmond weather, also right-click, make smaller, and now have these side by side. And it's going to say, hey, here's Orlando, there's Redmond, where I'm currently at, and I now have my weather there. So many of these apps, by simply just right-clicking, I have the choice of making it smaller, uninstall it, or unpin it from start. You'll also notice that this TweetDeck icon, this is not a Windows Store app in any way, shape, or form. This is a standard desktop app, the same with Office. But you'll notice if I click Word, I'm brought to my desktop, and I'm able to launch that. Same if I bring up TweetDeck. If I go back, TweetDeck, I go ahead and launch. There I am inside of TweetDeck. We'll let that come up, and we can see that my desktop apps, this one pinned, I can right-click and still choose to pin this or unpin these to the taskbar. that it's still there. So I really have that great back and forth fluidity. And I can see all my open apps here. And one of my favorite things to do, and I'll show you how to do this in Touch, but if I right-click this weather, so let's do this, sorry. Let's open up the Bing app, and I go up here, and I right-click weather. I can say, you know what, snap that to the left. I'd like to have my weather up at all times, or my stock, or my scores, or my mail, or whatever it is, open on the left, and have a standard app open on the right. I can also bring up my desktop at this point. I could launch Word, and there's Word side by side. So I can have a Windows 8 app and a desktop application or running side by side, and I can do this as I want. If I'd rather have that on the right, I can say, you know what, I really like Bing on the right, or I'd really like to have that weather on the right. So I can move these back and forth. If I decide I don't want to share, you'll see here is my slider bar, and I can slide that out, bring that back, and once again have that fully immersive, really, really great experience that allows me to really use all of the screen, be able to move through, see those forecasts, and click. So that's just a few kind of often. Joy, what are some of your favorites?
Yeah, I'm a shortcut guy. I am a shortcut guy. The keyboard thing, it might have to do with the fact that I spent so many years in IT and playing in DOS and everything else. So
exactly.
I love the keyboard shortcuts. And you know what, guys? Everybody out there, I'm going to tell you my absolute favorite one. It's Windows Key X.
Yeah.
It's Windows Key X. So hey, take a look at my screen here. I'm just going to go ahead and jump over Windows Key X. And then you'll notice here I have access to all my programs, my power options, Event Viewer, which I basically live in whenever I'm doing any type of troubleshooting, right? Disk management, all of my favorite things. I'm not having to go and hunt around for them, though it's really not that hard to find them, and I can really get to them. The other thing that I do a lot, Stephen, is I could be on my desktop, I could be working on some documents, I could be browsing around and doing something, and then very quickly, I want to just go out and jump and check what a sports score is, or very quickly jump and see what a particular stock price is. Literally, all I do is hit the Windows key. I see my apps there, I see, oh look, the market's up 0.85%, okay, good, and I'm right back to where I was before with my original documents.
Fast and fluid, that's what we've been saying.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely fast and fluid. The other thing I think folks just don't understand is the searching. And the fact that search it's everywhere, right? I mean, and it kind of started with Windows 8. With Windows 7, right? And I go back all the time if I'm ever in a virtual machine showing Windows XP to Windows 7
migrations. You would go to the start menu, you would go to the bottom, you would type something, but you had to go through those steps. One of my favorite things in keyboard and mouse is
you just hit the Windows key and start typing.
Yeah.
Right? So if I want to find Device Manager, I just simply click Device, and you see that the search goes throughout things. It goes through my apps, my settings, and my files. I'll click Settings. Hey, look, there's Device Manager, and boom, I've got Device Manager up instantly. It works for my documents. I do this all the time.
Yeah.
I have like 90 versions of a particular document or a presentation.
Sure.
I just go and type the name.
But what's really nice is, let's say you're in the mood to hear a Radiohead song.
Sure.
Show me how to get to a Radiohead song.
Well, so let's see if we can. I don't know if I'm actually signed in to get to the music.
Oh, I am.
Are you?
Yeah.
Why don't you show them?
Okay,
because I'm not actually signed in
so
there.
not only can I search for things that are on my machine, but let's go back out. So here I am. So I can do Windows F, brings up my search. I could also just hit Windows C to bring up the charms bar, but Windows F takes me right into it. Those shortcuts are key. I can type in Radiohead. And you know what? I don't have any apps or settings or files, but if I go down to my music, it will not only go out, but it's going to skip, it's going to go out, it's going to log me in. There it is, Radiohead. I go ahead and click it. I'm ready to go. You know what? I like Karma Police. I can go ahead and play it. Great, it's going to come up. And now, if I go back to working, I can go here to my music app. I could say snap to the left, and it's going to start playing me some Radiohead. Great, I'm ready to go. My Xbox music is ready to play. So I can move back and forth between those very, very nicely and very, very easily, and I love that.
And that search also works in the store, right? So one of the things we were sitting down having a conversation before a couple of days ago as we met before this event, and Stephen noticed I had the Netflix app. He's like, "Where's the Netflix app?" And I go, "I just heard it was out, so I just clicked.
Show us. So I just click Start because I have it here on my screen.
Click Start, and I type Netflix. And then all I have to do is go down to the store.
Down. There you go.
And click the store, and it will go out and search the Windows Store, and there is the Netflix.
So we're saving that step of launching the store, then going to search it. We can do everything right from within that charms bar on the right. So if we take a look at the charms bar, Windows C, we have search. We have share, and this is great. So if you are at a web page or you're doing something, so for example, if I go ahead and let's do this, I'm going to take myself out to the Springboard series for Windows 8. I've gone to Microsoft.com, whack Springboard. I've gone to my Windows 8, and hey, I want to share out that the Windows 8 Enterprise evals here. I'm going to go to share. I have a choice. I can do mail, people, or I can even Twitter this out. So let's do Tweetro, which I don't think I've actually, yep, there we go. So, hey, check out all this great Windows 8 info and the eval. Great. So I'm going to spell check that, which is nice. It's built right in there. I'm going to say tweet, and it's saying, oops, I can't do it. Why? Because I haven't logged into Tweetro. So that's fine. So let's do mail, because that will work just fine for me, because I'm logged into mail. Great. I'm going to send this to Joey. Send it to Alex Dijon. I just chatted with him this morning.
Okay, send it to Alex.
I'll send to Alex. Check out the cool Win 8 info. And notice there's a picture. Everything is right here. I send it, sending my email. There we go. Alex is going to get this. It's nice. He's up in the Netherlands. He'll appreciate it. He'll enjoy it. I also could have shared this via my people, so I could have gone directly into people. Once I'm here, I could take a look at who I have on Facebook, and I can now post this directly to Facebook. So again, really great options and great ways that I can do that within. So that is my share. Notice, because, by the way, that I like to, whoops, sorry, let me go back here. I went a little too fast. Let me go back to my desktop. I'm moving too fast for myself. So let me go back. I'm going to go back to my Springboard series for Windows 8. I'm going to go back up to my Charms bar and search. I can search within that page, which is great. Back to share. It'll actually say, hey, do you want to email Alex? He seems to be one of your favorite people when you send stuff out to, so it's going to remember that, which is great. I can even check on the progress of that. The next thing I have is devices. So I can choose, I can send this to OneNote, I can send this to XPS, or I can say, hey, I'd like to send that to a second screen or extend or duplicate or just keep that on my PC. And then I also get into my main settings where I can see that I'm connected to CorpNet. I can take a look at my volume, my brightness, if I want to turn notifications on or off, my keyboard and how that's going to look, and I can even add more languages to that keyboard, power, or move completely into my PC settings, which I know we're going to talk about this in a few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I spend a lot of time in the desktop.
Yep.
Right? And there are some of these Windows features and shortcut keys within from Windows 7 that I love.
Absolutely.
And docking things.
Yeah, and docking and split screens and all of that is still there. The fact that you can still do Windows R to bring up runs. So all those ones that you've grown up using, you can still use. So why don't you kind of walk us through?
Yeah, so if I've got my browser open here, and apparently it's Halloween time, so some haunted houses that'll freak me out. Okay. I want to move this.
And some mood-boosting foods. I think you need that more than the Halloween.
Yeah, so all right, thanks, buddy. I simply have to hit the Windows key and the left or right arrow. So that's going to dock to the left side, go to the middle, and go to the right.
You can put up 2 in split screen or bring in that Metro app, the Windows 8 app, and put that side by side, which is
minimize it, bring it back up with the Windows, with the up key. Spend a lot of time on my desktop. We've also made some really cool enhancements here, and I'm going to show this off. I'm going to show off some File Explorer stuff. I'm going to show off some file history stuff.
Cool.
Get some IT Pro stuff. I think we should show some touch.
Yeah,
too.
why don't we show some touch? That's what I was just thinking.
So let's show them, since we're on this kind of desktop thing, and get you all set up there for your desktop. I go into my libraries here and into my File Management Explorer. Windows key E for those of you who want the shortcut key, and what you'll see here, I mean, pretty standard, right? But what I love is it's the ribbon, because we're going to start talking about touch and how important it is. If I go into my music library, and if I had some, I don't currently have any music here or anything, but I would have the play options, right? I simply can click play, and you'll see there's these big buttons here that I can click to play things. I can manage things in my library, right? Show locations, all of this stuff. So having that easily accessible right up there at the top.
Instead of having to hold it, especially if you're in touch and holding for a few seconds and waiting and then trying to click those lower ones, we've taken all those options and we put them up in an interactive ribbon bar. That's going to be intuitive.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, one of the features that I absolutely love, I am very well known for hitting the Shift and Delete key very, very often, which means it's gone forever, no recovering it. And I can't tell you how many times I've really flubbed up when I'm trying to do something and I just I'm just going to delete this. And I'm, I didn't want to delete that. And it's obviously not going to be sitting in the recycle bin. So there's a great new feature inside of Windows 8, which is known as file history.
Yep.
Right? So I want to show you this. I have an important document. Let's open up my important document, and you'll see that it is so important that I've got sample text.
And you're
it's
writing it
changed
in
to the
Notepad.
doc.
That's
Yes,
how important it is.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm using Notepad, it's extremely important. And so we can say, hello world, this is important. And I can go ahead and let's just go ahead and save the doc and close it. And then if I wanted to say, oh, I don't know, delete it, or maybe, oh, I probably really shouldn't have even saved that change.
Right.
The great thing about this is I can actually go in and do the history. So you'll see up here at the top, there's the history of this document. So I can go in and I can check out the file history, right? So maybe I made some changes before. I didn't want to save those changes.
Right.
I didn't really want to delete the 6 slides out of that deck, right? And you can see here, I can go back to the various levels of history. So from the very first time this doc was created in October 8th, earlier this morning I made a change, and I just simply have to click the little Restore to Original Location button.
Is this turned on by default, or is this something that people need to enable?
So you should enable file history, right? And it can also be done via group policy, but you can also enable it on your machines. I'm going to go ahead and replace the file. I mean, I could choose to compare the info or whatnot or skip it. I can just go ahead and replace it because I know I wanted to go back. If I open up my important document, though, you'll see those changes that I made are gone.
Yep.
Right? A really cool desktop style feature, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That is just it's just in there. And I am just so happy for this because I'm always screwing up things and clicking the ding save button or deleting things when I shouldn't delete them.
No, absolutely. I think file history is a great feature. So, and it's one of those new ones that a lot of people are aware of. Just go to your Find, type in file history. It'll come up. You'll be able to
No,
launch right into it.
absolutely, right. You can do that here. Enable it, file history, and go into my settings, and there you'll see there's file history.
Yep, and turning
And
it on
then
or off.
turn
and
it
all
on
that's
or
right
off,
here.
and then you run now, right? So if I know I'm about ready to sit down and work on the slides that we're using for this jumpstart, for the ones that we're going to do after lunch, because I haven't started those yet, I'm going to go ahead and run file history before we modify that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great feature. So let's jump over to touch. So I think we have to go over the shoulder for this first part, and then we'll be able to actually go in once I can share it out, so we can show you the first screen over here. So give us a second. There we go. So wonderful. So I can see the first thing that I noticed before I even log in is that A, I have Wi-Fi. B, I'm connected to power. I have 5 unread emails in my primary email account. That's my Microsoft email account. I have 2 unread messages, and I have 55 unread emails in my personal email. So before I even log in, this information is right here, and I absolutely love that. I could also have things like what my next appointment is, things along that line. I'm going to go ahead and bring that up. And this is a domain joined PC, but instead of having a text password like I have, my text password is attached to a picture password. And this picture password is here, and I have it set up where it's 3 different movements that has to be done on the screen. You can use your own pictures, you can use the ones that are built in, but it's going to be your way to get in. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to touch the little dog's nose, I'm going to touch the big dog's nose, and I'm going to swipe down this log, and that's going to let me in. It is secure. You can turn that feature off. You can tell them only, whatever, but it's great to be able to do that. So as you can see, I can very simply swipe back and forth. If I want to move groups or start to change things, I talked about that pinch and zoom. I can pinch, I can pull down a group of applications and still go to that same name groups, etc. Now, one of the things that I showed you was how to park a Windows 8 app and a non-Windows 8 style app side by side. So I'm going to launch a few of these. I'm going to launch the weather app, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to launch Word, and I'm going to find let's do that. I'll launch that. Isn't that nice? And I'm going to find one more, and I'm going to do this the sports app. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to say close, and there's that. And what you're going to see is if I do a kind of a double swipe here, 1, 2, I'm going to see all of those open windows. The same way that I went up to the top left-hand corner and saw that I do that double swipe. And at this point, I can grab the weather app, okay, and I can just tap it. I'd like it full screen. But I also could, by pulling these apps out, so I could say, you know what, there's my sports app, there's my weather, and I can simply just say, you know what, I would really like that to hang here on the side. There's my sports app, and I can say, great, my favorite team is NFL, and it will go out and say no games scheduled, which makes no sense. Must not be fully connected here, but that'll go out here, and I can bring that back. I can grab my PC settings. I can bring my weather over here, drop it in. So very nicely and easily, I can very fluidly grab these different applications and pull them out like so. And if I decide that I don't want one, simply just swipe down, pull that back, swipe down, and I can very easily sort of move through those as I kind of move back and forth. And anytime pulling out, going to start and taking myself back. If we take a look here at some of the settings, I'm going to go into my major PC settings. I'm going to full screen that out. We can see on my first one, personalize. I can see on my various lock screen. This is where I can choose the applications that I would like to see. And I can say, you know what, I'd really like that to be calendar. I would like that to be my personal mail, and I'm good. And I would like my calendar to be my main application. Wonderful. So I can see that. There's my start screen. I can pick all my cool colors, my personal account picture that I would like to use. But all this is right here. My lock screen under users. This is where I'll see my picture password. So I can see that, where I could change it, but it will require me to type in my username and my credentials. Notifications, where I can see which apps are going to notify things in the background. I like this for Twitter. Tells me when I have a new Twitter message coming in. What apps I'm going to use when I search. I can say, you know what? I really don't want some of these applications that I have here to be searchable. I really kind of want to choose which ones I would like to be able to search and which ones not. So I can do that very nicely. Which apps I want to use to share. Here I have SkyDrive, People, and Mail as those key apps that I'm using. In time, app switching, how my touch keyboard is going to work, privacy, devices that I've connected up to this keyboard, mice, etc. Airplane mode, Wi-Fi, overall ease of access, syncing my settings with a Windows Live account. So as I move from PC to PC, things like personalization, desktop passwords, all of that moves through all my PC. So if I do it on one, it does on all the rest.
Are you running standard Pro? Are you running the Pro version or the x86 version? Or are you running Windows RT on that device?
This is a regular device. I'm running the Intel chip on
Okay.
this, so I can load up any piece of software that I want on this, which is what's great. So that feature's right in there. Home groups if I do, and I can also see all the Windows 8 here as well. So I really have that great back and forth of allowing myself to run the Windows 8 apps, the non-Windows 8 apps. It's fast, it's fluid. I can move through my apps really nicely and really simply, but I can still go out, and if I want to start using a mouse, because I find that easier, and a keyboard, I have that right here ready to go. Simply, I'm not even touching, just using my mouse and keyboard. Great, wonderful, I can go in. I need Word up, great, I can go in, and I'm ready to start typing, and I'm ready to start moving right through at that moment. So that's what's really nice about having the sort of best of both worlds that I do. And I think that's one of the key things that really separates this device from a lot of the other devices.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Love the touch, the combination of stuff. I find myself, I've got a touch monitor at my desk, and I use it quite frequently. And I find myself when I'm on airplanes sitting there on my normal laptop here that has no touch, and yeah, I'm constantly trying to touch it. It doesn't really work.
Yeah, it doesn't like to do that very much.
No, not very often.
All right.
So we kind of really talked about, the idea, showing how fast and fluid things are, the clean, modern UI that we have, and just really kind of some of the cool little features, the shortcuts, the things that we do in our day-to-day lives that we really like about Windows 8 and some of those things. I also showed a really cool feature with file history. We're going to talk some more about some cool features in terms of I want to show off some storage space technology that's very similar to what we have in Windows Server. For those of you, I see a lot of questions here. I've got the Q&A panel open here. There were a number of questions about AppLocker.
Okay.
And managing access to AppLocker. We're going to get to AppLocker because we have a whole module talking about kind of security and some of these kinds of things. So we're going to get to that later on in this afternoon. It is absolutely controllable and manageable by AppLocker. The Windows Store is you can completely control access to the Windows Store via group policy.
Yep.
So yeah, absolutely. We'll get to those things. So hang tight. We've got a ton of stuff. This is really like the hey.
Oh, this is just our overview. Like we haven't even dug in yet.
The 100 level view, the 1,000-foot level view of what we've got.
So let me show one other really great feature in Windows 8 here that I really love, and I think this is a really great one. So I'm going to bring up my keyboard here. But you have the option to bring up either a standard keyboard, touch keyboard, etc. So I'm going to go out. I need to share this out. So give me a moment. Devices. Let's do it here. Devices. Second screen. Duplicate. Great. Let's make sure we can see that. There we go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring up the keyboard, and you have an option here where you can pick a standard keyboard, you can do a split keyboard, you can change the size for it, or writing. And I love showing off writing in Windows 8. I think it's one of my favorite areas. So if I do, even in my messy script.
Oh, it might actually have a chance at reading mine.
Oops, I hit a button here. So let's do that. This is a test of the There you go. This is a test. I can do system. Whoops, not Stern. And I can just tap that and then say S-Y-S-T-E-M. Oops, S-Y.
You're creating brand new words, buddy.
I am. Let's do that. There we go. Insert. So that's what's great. It's that simple where anybody can just sit there, and if you're a person who likes to write more than type, it's a lot easier for me to do this, whether you're doing it in Word or OneNote or any one of those apps. It works really, really nicely. So I love showing off the touch. I think that that is absolutely one of my more favorite features and capabilities in there.
Stephen, I got to answer a question that just came up on Q&A.
Yeah, please.
Somebody said, so Windows 8 can be for laptops as well?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Laptops, desktops. You've got those systems, those all-in-one systems that you've got sitting at home.
Yep.
In the kitchen.
Yeah.
Right? And any type. That's the main thing. So many form factors, so
Yep.
many formats. You're gonna have convertible ultrabooks coming out.
Yep.
You know, I've already seen a ton of stuff. I read too many blogs and things.
Yeah.
But I mean, the convertible screen with big fast processors
Yep.
and RAM. But
Yeah,
you know,
well, the
itty bitty thing.
The key thing I get is, can I run this on any machine? And the bottom line is if it's a Windows 7 certified machine, Windows 8 will work. When it comes to touch, though, you need a bevel-less experience. What I mean by that is
Yeah.
that it's a completely flat screen. Why? Because Windows 8 starts a few pixels before the edge. So when you're going to grab something, your finger actually starts before the edge and pulls out. And if you have a bevel, it's kind of hard to get in there.
Yeah.
So if you have a flat screen touch machine, you're going to love it. But if you have a laptop or a desktop that's older, that was built early in the Windows 7 or even Vista, but it has a bevel, you may not get the best experience, but there's some great options coming out. And it gives you new excuse to go out and go buy a brand new machine, which is always good too.
I look for those excuses all of the time, much to the chagrin of my wife.
Absolutely. So, let's see. We've talked about snapping. We've talked about taskbars. We've talked about jumping through our apps. We've talked about the File Explorer, which is great, and how we have that same functionality, but how it's optimized and does some really good stuff. How about the Task Manager? I know we've had a lot of cool new additions.
I like
to that.
Task Manager.
Let's walk us through that.
You know, I use Task Manager quite a bit in the Windows 7 days, right? When you do troubleshooting of all sorts and you're looking to find processes that are running and everything. So there's some really cool enhancements, particularly for us IT guys, that I like to see every little detail about what's running, how's my processor doing, how are those things.
Right.
And you can do it right from Task Manager. So let me go ahead and minimize that there. And here's my Task Manager. Now, pretty simple here. You'll see that these are my running tasks, and I could click a task and end it if it was not responding properly. If I click the more details, now I've got something cooking here, right? You'll see here are the applications that I've got running. Here are all of the background processes. And even underneath these background processes, I can actually see what else is running underneath it, right? So how many times have we gone in and seen service host local service?
Yeah.
And started troubleshooting and go, what the heck is running in service host
exactly.
local
What is
service,
that?
right? So I simply just click out that little arrow there, and I can actually go down and see all of the individual processes and things that are running underneath that task. I can go into performance. Love this.
Yeah, why don't you bring this up
a
full
lot.
screen? Let's really make it in all of its glory so everybody can see it. There
Yeah,
you go.
absolutely. Love this. The fact that I can see what my CPU utilization is doing right now.
And this is a lot more clear than it has been in past. I love down at the bottom, it tells you very, very simply, here's your speed, here's what you, and for networking, when we'll get to that in a minute for performance, I love the fact that I can see how fast my connection is it me, is it the access point, where's that bottleneck coming from?
Yeah, check out our memory utilization, what we've got going on, what we have available. Now, I mean, sure, this has been in Perfmon forever, right? But you've got to go in and you got to set up. I can simply just right-click, bring up the taskbar, and now I've got a quick instantaneous view of this stuff. I've got several disks on here. You can see what my performance is that I've got running there, all my capacity. And Stephen, you mentioned it. I'm on this tab constantly, particularly as I'm moving files around, copying things over the network. I want to see, hey, how's everything going? Do I have a problem on,
Right.
on
Is
my
it my
machine?
end or is it
me?
the other
Yeah,
end? And you're trying to troubleshoot, absolutely.
So I'm running this all the time. There's another cool thing called app history. Now, you talked about this a little bit when you talked about the fact that applications kind of shift into a lower power mode.
Think of it sort of the way you think of a phone. You don't close an app in the phone, but after a point in time, it will shut itself down. And Windows 8 apps are built very smartly where they'll sit in the background for a period of time, and then if they haven't been used, they'll go ahead and shut down and release that battery, release those cycles, giving us better battery life. And that's one of the reasons why not only are they built to be secure, where they have to meet our standards of coding practices, making sure that people don't. It's difficult to hack them and get into them, but also that they're releasing at a reasonable amount of time and giving us back those resources so that our system is running really well. And that background shuffling really helps, and that's one of the reasons why there are such strict standards when you go to build an app for Windows 8.
I think even later on what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show the testing tool
absolutely. I think
that
it'd
we
be
use that shows this, and that kind of explains some of this. So I can actually see our CPU time. I can see how much network gets used. Now there's this tab here called metered network. Why would we metered network? What is this?
With mobility, I think one of the other things is we realize that people are now moving to devices that have a mobile broadband in it.
Yeah.
So one of the features, and again, we'll talk about this a little bit later in more detail, is that, again, Windows 8 is very smart. Windows 8 will say, you've got to download a bunch of patches. But you know what? You're on a metered connection. You are paying for every single megabyte or you've got a cap. So you know what? I'm going to wait and I'm going to hold off and I'm just going to let you get your email and do what it is you want to do. And these things are going to take up a lot of time, but they can wait, like updates for your antivirus, things like that. I'm going to go ahead and wait till I'm on a non-metered connection, Wi-Fi or your own home broadband or something like that, and then download it at that time. So we can take a look at that and we can also meter it because we want to be aware, I don't want overages, or even worse, you're overseas, you're using your tablet and you realize, holy crap, this thing is running in a metered connection, this is going to cost me a ton. What's running? Be able to shut that down and take yourself offline and do that nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can get an idea of what you've got here. And of course, those broadband connections, those broadband metered controls, again, like everything else, group policies there, can be managed, can deal with it centrally. Startup, right? Well, I don't have anything running at startup, but yeah, how many times?
But yeah, you have a lot of these background apps or ones that go, I didn't even know that was there. You can go in, uninstall it, or minimize it, or tell it to shut down, et cetera. It gives you a good chance to start to control what's eating up all my memory, what's using up bandwidth, et cetera, as you're really trying to squeeze every ounce of performance out of that machine.
Sure. The users tab now, fast user switching. And we've seen this since Windows 7. I ran into this problem at home so many times that my kids are logged into their account, then I log in to try to do something, and there are literally no system resources left whatsoever. I'm like, what are these kids doing? I don't want to go in and log in and find out everything that they've got going on.
Right.
So with the user tab, I can simply go down and I can see what they've got that's running.
Nice.
And I can see that their, magical unicorn rainbows software, whatever that is taking up a whole ton of resources.
You have a problem with magical unicorn rainbow software?
No, it's just when it
just
completely
making sure,
soaks.
don't go
look,
there.
if it completely soaks up all my system resources so I can't listen to
right,
Radiohead,
fair enough,
then I've got a problem,
okay.
pal.
All right.
Then I've got a problem. So we can actually see what's happening here with our users, all the processes and what they're using.
Radiohead paying us anything? Are we getting free concert tickets for this?
I have no idea.
Focusing
You
on the Radiohead.
You brought it up.
You guys owe us some tickets for all the Radiohead love we're giving you here this morning. It's kind of gray. It's a little cold. It's kind of crisp. It's fall. It's a good Radiohead kind of day.
Good Radiohead
I was listening to that. I was listening to some orchestral maneuvers in the dark this
Oh,
morning.
you got the OMD.
I had the OMD going this morning. It was kind of a nice mix. It was kind of mellow, getting me going. So that's probably why it's
Awesome.
in my head.
That's why it's in your head. Of course, we can get into all the details. You need to know where an app is.
Yes.
What an app, where the application is. In other words, where is it being launched from?
Yes, absolutely.
All the descriptions. How many times have you pulled up something and you gone, what the heck is this?
Well, that happens a lot. What is this, or why is this running? Things like that. And I'm also trying to make sure, and although we have so many great security features in Windows 8 to prevent spyware and malware, things like that, I want to make sure I don't have something running in the background I'm not aware of.
Right.
From a security standpoint.
Here's a cool feature. I love this. I can actually find out where this file is actually located, where the executable is. Simply right-click the application, and I can choose Open File Location. And you'll see, oh, this is Microsoft App V.
Yep, there you go.
I know exactly what this is. Okay. All right, so I'm not too worried about that application. I can see who's running it, see all these system processes, and I can explore these things. Obviously, same things that we could do with Windows 7 in terms of setting affinity, setting priorities.
And just
all
understanding what it is, being able to open it up, going to the properties, where is it coming from, what is it using, all that is right there, absolutely.
And then one of my favorite features that I used, even in Windows 7, search online about this process.
Yeah.
Tell me what this is.
Sure.
Is it something that's running on my system that really shouldn't be?
Yep.
And then, of course, we can see services right here. No more having to just open up a separate services tab.
it's all right
I've
there
got
for
it
us.
all right here, all within my task manager. I can start services. I can stop services. I can do all of this stuff. Search online for everything that we've got going on.
Okay.
So
Nice.
that's the task manager, which love all the enhancements, love the changes. It makes my life troubleshooting. I'm not having to go download a bunch of tools.
No, exactly, and it does make it a lot easier. So our next thing we're going to talk about is another one of the new features that most people are not aware of, and it's one that's sort of hidden unless you know to look for it, and it is storage spaces.
Storage spaces.
Storage spaces is great because very, very simply, it allows us to do RAID and have redundancy and use all these drives. I have a whole bunch of drives sitting around the house that are like these 250 gig drives, and I would love nothing more than just to tie them together, use them as one storage medium, be able to share that out with multiple people, give some that, hey, you can store this here, you can store that there, and be able to move that around, give people quotas. But I don't want to start doing this from servers. I'd like to be able to share this out myself and do it. So tell us a bit more about storage spaces and how that works.
I really liken this a lot to the feature that we have in our home servers, right?
Yes.
I mean, you remember back in the day of home server. Well,
Yep.
it's still around, right?
It's
a lot
still
of people
around.
have them. You could slap in a drive, and then
Yep.
I have 1 terabyte of storage. I go down to the local store and get another terabyte drive,
Right.
and I slap it in. And
But now
boom,
with
it
USB
spins out.
3 drives getting
Yeah.
cheaper, that I just saw a 2 terabyte USB 3 drive for $100. I'd love to get just 2 or 3 of those, but I just want to deal with USB. And let's say I'm a home user. I don't know much about this. I got a ton of pictures. I'm buying these new great Ultrabooks, but they only have 256 gig SSD. I got a terabyte's worth of music.
Yeah.
How do I really do this? And the other thing is, I want to make sure if one of these drives fails that I'm not in trouble. I'm not losing all the kids' Halloween pictures. I'm not losing my music connection. So I want to have flexibility. I want redundancy. I want the ability to be able to add a bunch of cheap drives and tie them together and use it. But I also want it to be easy. I want it so that my mom can figure out how to do this and how to set this up at
Sure.
home with a very simple wizard.
So let me show this to you because I've got a system set up here
Great.
that's ready for storage spaces. And if I've got multiple disks, as I've got on my system here, I'll show you here in just a moment. I want to do exactly what you said. I want to get these suckers, kind of. I want to kind of combine them in or partition them into multiple usable disks, and that way, maybe I want to mirror it.
Yeah, there you
Right?
go.
And maybe I
Well,
wanna
let
do
me
some of
just
these
let me
things.
walk through this little animation I have.
Okay.
I'll kind of explain it, and then we'll
Sure.
go through. So what it is it's a tool that enables users and organizations to gather physical disks into a larger virtualized space called a storage pool. It's very simply a group of disks that has been joined together. And as an IT pro, you can think of a storage pool as a raw, unpartitioned disk. The pools can be partitioned into one or more virtual disks, which we call spaces and storage spaces, and that can be used to store files and data. And one of the most exciting features of that is thin provisioning, which this enables us to configure a larger mirrored space from a smaller raw pool. And in other words, you could have 2 terabytes of raw space, but with thin provisioning, you can make that a 5 terabyte storage space. You can add more disks later in order to bring that physical capability up to 5 terabytes. So storage spaces can be used also to provide resiliency because we can do that
Yep.
2- and 3-way mirroring
Yes.
together. So we can see here, that I have this 10 terabyte document space, but I only have 2 terabytes. And as I need more, it's going to say, hey, you're running low. This lets people know that they're not constantly running out of room, that it will work with it and will provision it over that, and it will do a really, really great job. So why don't you kind of walk us through the demo here, Storage Spaces.
All right, so let's go ahead and do this. I've got a machine here with some multiple disks. So you go ahead and launch Storage Spaces. Of course, doing like I do, I love my start menu and searching. And so I'm going to choose Storage Spaces here. And what you'll see, I've actually already got a storage pool already created, right? Notice 126 gig storage pool using my storage spaces here and using my disk. You'll see I've also got some other physical disks that I actually already have connected, right? So let me go ahead and I want to do, hang on, I'm not an administrator, so let me very quickly, let's do this. I didn't log in as administrator. I don't have the permissions to go ahead and change the storage thing. So very quickly switch over. And we'll bring this full screen. And if I can learn to type, and type the right password. The pressure of live television or internet something. There we go. All right, and then once again, right here, right from the screen, typing storage, and choose Storage Spaces. I got a little PowerShell action going on in the background. And let's go ahead and click some change the settings. Go ahead and manage this. I've already got this pool already created. So now I want to go ahead and I want to expand this storage pool out to take advantage of some additional storage that I have here. And just waiting on the user account control prompt to pop right up. Again, I just switched over users, so it takes it just 1 second here on my little virtual machine that I've got running here. And we'll be able to go ahead and extend this out and actually get more capacity going on, right? So I've already got this storage space that I already have created. I'm going to go ahead and click change. So you'll see the name of the storage space here, we call it data disk. We've got the drive letter. We've got additional capacity. I can actually go in and I can actually explore and look at what we've got in here. So I want to change this storage space. Change this storage space. I want to add some drives, right? And you'll see here, I've got this virtual disk. It's a VM. One of the fun things about playing with virtualization is the fact that I can very quickly add disk space. So I'm going to simply click Add Drives, right? And when the drive's done initializing, you'll see that my pool capacity is actually increased. So my pool capacity is now up to 252 gigabytes, right? When it was originally at 126, right? So now these two physical drives are taking part and acting as part of our storage pool. So once I do this, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my change here. You'll notice that my storage space size, when I originally was looking at the change key here, I was stuck at 126 gig.
Right.
So now I can expand this all the way up to our capacity. In this case, I like to keep some GBs in my back pocket just in case I ever need them, right? So I'm going to change that to 250 GB and change it. And then you'll see here, if I go out to my Explorer, go to my computer, and there you'll see 249 gigabytes available.
There you go.
On that D drive in that storage space.
Now, what if I want to give this out and make a new storage pool and share that out with somebody, let's say within my organization?
So yeah, absolutely. Well, so in terms of this sharing, are you referring to sharing or?
Well, sharing, but also if you go back to our storage screen, we can also we can remove the pool, we can add a pool, and we can create a new storage space. But we also have these nice, so this can be cut up, so we can cut this up if we want to. You can really start to dig in deeply within this, which is what's really nice as we start to do this, because we can go over and we can create a new pool, or we can manage spaces as we start to do this, and we can hand these out to different people. So we can do this two-way mirror, three-way mirror, depending on your disk. So we really have a lot of functionality here in how we start to break this up.
Yeah, and so we'd create a new storage pool. Just create a new storage pool. You call it what you want to call the space. You have a drive letter, but this resiliency type, right? You've got simple no resiliency. You've got a two-way mirror. Right. You have a three-way mirror. You've got parity, right? So of course, parity, helping with some performance and things that you've got there.
Yep.
So absolutely, really simple,
Yeah.
really easy to configure, really easy to configure. Another one of my favorite kind of cool features that exists in this. This is in Windows Server, right? So
Yeah.
in Windows
Yeah, you
Server
guys have had it
2012,
for
we
a
see
long
this all
time.
the
It's great to
time.
bring this to a
so,
home level,
So
yeah.
to have it at a home level, and I'll never run out of capacity for the Britney Spears MP3s again.
Well, there you go. That's good. All right, we have 2 more topics to talk about in this first one. The next one is Internet Explorer 10. So we're going to go back to our slides here and walk through. And there's 3 really critical things as we take a look at this, is that Windows 8 with IE 10 is fast and fluid. It's very trusted, interoperable. But let's kind of go through some of the points. And one of the first things that I tend to get a lot is that, is it 2 different browsers? And it's not. It is one browser engine. It's 2 very different faces. The reason for it, the new experience, is to give it, first of all, when you're using it through the Windows Start desktop, that you have that full screen, great immersive experience, what we refer to as a Chromeless experience. And that's not a dig at Chrome. It's that there is no menu bar, nothing, that you're using the full screen as you are surfing, and you're able to see all of those details. That the navigation only appears when needed, either when you touch the screen or when you right-click, and that it's a very fast and fluid browsing experience. We take a look at Trusted. There's that smart screen filter we have in private browsing. We have that great tracking protection that makes sure that people aren't following you from site to site to site, and you're not leaving this trail across the internet. It supports all the modern standards: HTML5, CSS3, SVG. It also supports the IE9, 8, and 7 in Quirks mode. What's great, though, is that because we're not allowing a ton of plugins to start working on the, in Windows 8 with IE10, what's great is we're not slowing down that experience. But if you need plugins, they're still there and you're still able to use them. We can go to our desktop browser. We've got support for all those plugins, like if you're using Skype or using Salesforce.com or you need those plugins, they're there. And all you need to do is go down to the bottom. So here, let me show you how that works real quick. So I'll bring up here a website. So I'll bring up the Springboard series here. Let me duplicate that out, make sure everybody can see that. So we'll go to Devices. Whoops. Let's try that again. Devices, on that second screen. And I'll do duplicate so everybody can see that. Great. So I've got the Springboard series here. You'll notice I can see the full screen. It's a complete experience. If I click that into our Windows 8 Tech Center, you'll notice very quickly the address bar comes up and I can see all of my pinned and all of my frequent favorites are all right there. But what's nice is, let's say I go here to Deliver and I go down, oops, sorry, not Deliver. Let's go to Plan, sorry. I go down, I got this great video. But as I go to play this video, cannot be played in this version. So not a problem. What I'm going to do here is I go down here and it says View on the desktop. It's going to launch right here on the desktop. I've got my support right there. I'm able to move forward and start to play that. So very quickly and simply, if you need it, you could launch it from the desktop, or if you're not in the desktop, it'll take you right into it. And you can see here, I'm able to run my video, do what I need to do, and be able to do that very, very quickly and easily. So that's really one of the critical areas. So I'm going to go back here to my deck, do that, and I will go to Extend here. Okay. So as I take a look at my next slide, we can start to talk about Windows 8 apps in the enterprise. So we've talked about the browser and all the great things that the browser does and how easy. The best thing is really just go out and play with it. It's built for touch. It's built for non-touch as we start to move through this, and it's going to do a great job on it. Joy, what are your thoughts on using the browser?
Again, the quickness, right? The quickness and the security, right? Of course, I often do online shopping.
There you go.
For presents for my wife, so I'm using the in private browsing
for
the online shopping. So yeah, a big fan of Internet Explorer. Q&A, guys, it's coming in hot and heavy, and I'd love to right now thank all the guys out there for the rest of our team that are helping out with the Q&A. A couple of items I want to point on. We talked about storage spaces, and they asked if we could change the parity on the fly. The answer to that question is no, you don't want to do that because obviously that could cause a loss of data. So you cannot change those options on the fly.
Right.
And then another question actually came in. I want to say, Christian. Hi, Christian. How are you? He wants to run an application as another user as administrator. I run apps as administrator all the time, particularly command prompt, right? Really simple to do from the Metro screen, or from
Just get
from
to it
the
and
search
right
screen.
click it. When in doubt, right click.
Right click, and you'll see, run as administrator.
Yep.
Or my favorite keyboard shortcut, Control-Shift-Enter, baby.
Yep.
Control-Shift and Enter, and then that'll open that up. Of course, I actually have to click the button, but it'll open up as
it will do it.
With administrative access and everything that we've got there. So we're kind of running up against it. We've kind of gone over. Of course, we just start talking and talking and talking about things that we have that we love about Windows 8. You got a couple more things before we hit a break. We're going to hit a break coming.
Yeah, so real quick, let's talk about Windows 8 apps in the enterprise. The thing to understand is apps we're talking are Windows 8 Store apps are cross architecture. Once you write it once, run it across both our RT devices, aka our ARM devices, and across the x86 platform. So it's going to work across both. And we've got a great deep dive on apps a little bit later. Use what you know. Same tools, same languages, that you are used to. You're going to be able to continue to build that within it, which is really, really nice. So Visual Studio, web languages, JavaScript, HTML3, C#, VB, C++, you're good to go. Fast, easy to deploy. We'll show when I deploy, I'm going to sideload an app and have that as part of our Windows 8 deployment as we go from XP to Windows 8. I'll bring an app into it. And they're very, very secure because we've reduced the system vulnerability with isolated app containers. So you're not having problems as one moves to the other. And that built-in app-to-app integration with Windows 8 app contracts, which is absolutely tremendous. So you can download from the Windows Store. Those are public apps. That's going to work on an RT or Windows 8 app. And we can also sideload. And there's different ways to do it. We can do this through a directly through a PowerShell script. We can push it out via GPO, or we can even build hosting platforms using Windows Intune or SCCM, where someone internally within the organization can go to a page, click on the app that would be useful to them as part of their GPO, and be able to load that up, or just bring it in as part of deployment. So we have a lot of really great ways that we're able to do that and have those custom line of business apps, as well as having those public apps, having those living side by side, but being able to manage those whether we're using cloud infrastructure, we're doing it directly off of a USB, or it's coming in as part of the deployment process.
You can do it with PowerShell.
Yep.
Right, side-loading applications
just
with
right-click
PowerShell,
it,
really
say
simple.
launch in PowerShell.
And I'm actually going to show this a little bit later on today as we get moving on. So you've got the Windows Store for applications. You can sideload your current line of business applications for Windows-based applications.
Yep.
Applications that you've got in Windows 7 today should run under Windows 8.
Oh, they will.
And so we've got all these new features with Internet Explorer, the different compatibility modes in Windows Explorer. Again, IE10 is IE10.
Yeah.
There's not two separate browsers on this.
I want one engine, two different faces. The great thing I also love is when using IE10 on my touch, it will automatically, if you wanted to, cache the next page. So all I have to do is just literally just flick to the right to move through my pages, flick to move back. There's no having to hit buttons. I encourage you to try that if you have that. Or if you're on a non-touch, you'll get little hidden arrows that you can click and move back and forth. And that's great. That's great for what I like to call speed browsing. I'm just looking to get some information. I want to kind of go through the pages, check out my news sites. I don't often need a lot of those plugins, and it really starts to slow me down. I can get more done with less time and less resources, and that's really at the core of Windows 8.
We have covered a ton of stuff. Storage spaces, File Explorer, all the shortcut keys, docking things left and right, moving things around with keyboard
Manager
shortcuts. Love the Task Manager.
Yeah, good stuff.
Have I said that before?
Yeah.
Probably getting repetitive here. We've got a lot more IT Pro features about Windows 8 coming up after a quick little short break.
Yep.
So stick around, folks. Make sure you get your questions into the Q&A panel.
Deployment is next. So start getting your deployment questions ready. We're going to talk about deployment next. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned.